Hey guys, it's the American Pool Guy, and we are now officially out of the Thanksgiving season. I had an amazing time with my friends and family. I hope that you did too. Now we're heading into the
Stranger Things!
No babe, this is not a Stranger Things reference. This is a Christmas reference. We're going into December soon. Stranger Things was in October. Get with the times, check a calendar. Now, as it is with many holidays, such as Valentine's Day, 4th of July, Thanksgiving, Christmas, New Year's, there are different feelings that are grouped and attributed with those holidays. And when you think of Christmas and New Year's, the December holidays, what do you think of? What are those holidays about? This. It's all about this. Thank you guys so much for watching this week. I will talk. When I think of Christmas and New Year's, I'm actually starting to get a feeling of hope, a new hope coming with the new year. And that's actually what I want to talk about today is hope. Where do we place our hope for our future as America, as individuals? Because I'll be honest, history has been full of what I call hope sellers. Different people that offer philosophies, policies, and ideals that they say will bring peace and hope to the future. Now, some of these people actually offered hopeful agendas ending with evil outcomes, while some others actually offered hopeful agendas that ended with good outcomes that benefited future generations. But regardless of evil or good outcomes, there's one thing that all of these strategies and policies had in common, and that is that they fell short of being everlasting. They faded away into history, or they will fade away into history over time. Now, as it stands right now in our present day, it sure seems like nobody is offering any bulletproof plans to bring us a hopeful future. Nobody seems to fully agree on what course of action we should take next. Even people who are on the same team argue with each other as to what path they should go down. For an example, take a look at today's neo-feminists. You would think that they're all on the same page together, right? But actually, there's a lot of infighting with them on something like whether legalized prostitution should be seen as empowering to women or objectifying to women. So even though sometimes we may think like, oh, I'm a conservative, so I automatically agree with everything that every conservative says, there's infighting and there seems to be arguments and debates happening even within the niche groups. Pile on top of that all of today's discouraging tragedies, scandals, and unrest, and it's very easy to fall prey to hopelessness. But not today! You see, when there are tragedies that occur, and there's unrest in the government or in our society, people are very quick to call out, oh, where's God? Where's this God? Where's our hopeful future that everybody's promising us? I thought we were supposed to be a blessed nation of some sort. And here is my answer to that question. It actually comes out of the Bible, specifically Jeremiah 29:11 through 14. For I know the plans I have for you, declares the Lord, plans to prosper you and not to harm you, plans to give you hope and a future. Then you will call on me and come and pray to me, and I will listen to you. You will seek me and find me when you seek me with all your heart. I will be found by you, declares the Lord, and I will bring you back from captivity. Now, I don't know about you, but for me, how awesome and calming is it to know that God has a plan of hope and peace for us. Now, in order to attain this plan of hope and peace that God has set aside for us, we need to seek Him out, and we need to call upon Him with all of our hearts. No doing it halfway here. And when we do that, we're actually ascribing to Jesus' philosophy. Here are just a few examples of how Jesus' philosophy can actually help us solve some of the problems that we have in the world today. For example, we keep telling ourselves like, oh, we need more love. I want to feel more love from everybody. Just fill the world with love. But yet people just seem to be getting more toxic and frustrating and salty towards each other. And we don't know why. Well, I mean, these are Jesus's own words from the book of Mark, chapter 12, verse 31. You shall love your neighbor as yourself. There is no other commandment greater than these. Is anybody out there struggling with financial stability? I know that was a struggle of mine for a while. The Bible speaks on that as well in Proverbs chapter 13, verse 22. A good man relieves an inheritance to his children's children, but the wealth of the sinner is stored up for the righteous. Get out of debt, stay out of debt. Another financial scripture that we can get encouragement from is coming from 1 Timothy chapter 6, verse 10. For the love of money is a root of all kinds of evil, for which some have strayed from the faith in their greediness and pierced themselves through with many sorrows. Maybe someone is dealing with an alcohol addiction or a drug addiction or some other addiction that is just ruining your life. Well, the Bible has a few things to say about that. 1 Corinthians chapter 6, verse 12 says, all things are lawful for me, but all things are not helpful. All things are lawful for me, but I will not be brought under the power of any. Maybe there's some family instability going on. I mean, I come from a broken family, but what does the Bible have to say about what the best way to keep a family together is? Ephesians chapter 5 and 6 actually speaks to each of the family members about how they should conduct themselves in order to have a peaceful and loving coexistence together. Things such as husbands, make sure you're loving your wives and that you're understanding towards them. Wives, make sure that you're respecting your husbands, and children, obey your parents. It's little principles like these that we're missing in today's society, but we can easily bring them back on the individual level. Start in your own home, and if we're applying these ideals into our own families, we're going to start seeing a lot more love in our families and a lot more lasting relationships. Now imagine just for a second if more of us could get on board with just those 4 things that I addressed, and there's a lot more where those came from, but just those 4 things. Imagine how hopeful our future would start to become. I mean, God has given us a guidebook, a plan for how to attain His ideal situation for us, which is of peace and hope and happiness. The problem is not everyone wants to get on board 100% with Jesus Christ's philosophy. I will admit, it is easier to ascribe to a man-made philosophy. And why is that? Because then it's a little bit easier to just, buffet and pick and choose which ideals and philosophies we want to attain and adopt for ourselves, and we get to keep a little bit of our darkness, a little bit of our sinful selves, whatever parts we want to keep. I'll take this, but I want to keep this part of me. I'll take those few philosophies and ideals, but I want to keep this part of me. Whereas if you want the hopeful and peaceful plan of Jesus Christ that God has for us, you got to be on board 100%. Sometimes man's philosophy, it does work temporarily. It does, like I said, it sparks a change. It brings about some benefits to it. But it will eventually fade away into something that becomes corrupt. For example, I will admit to this, I did this for a while. I started to idolize Thomas Paine and some of his works, and I started to ascribe to most of his ideals and philosophies. But, I may have gotten really rational and objective in my thinking, but one thing that I started to struggle with is I became a jerk. I became such a pain to be around. No pun intended. Pun intended. But nonetheless, I was short-tempered, easily frustrated, angry all the time. just unpleasant of a person. And that's not how you create a peaceful society, is by becoming toxic. But here's something that the Bible has to say about man's philosophies versus the philosophy of God and Jesus. Colossians chapter 2, verse 8 through 10. It says, "Beware lest anyone cheat you through philosophy and empty deceit, according to the tradition of men, according to the basic principles of the world, and not according to Christ. For in him dwells all the fullness of the Godhead bodily, and you are complete in him, who is the head of all principality and power." Christ's ideals last forever. They never end. They never fade away. The only thing, though, is that we need to proactively be living those ideals every day. And that's actually where you lose a lot of people, including myself for a while, actually, is the whole, oh, there's work involved in this, I have to be proactive about something. I actually am not interested in the whole God or religion thing. Well, how do I know that I can trust this system? You know what? That's your free will. That's our free will. We all have the freedom to choose to not ascribe to that philosophy or to the Bible. Nonetheless, the way of Christ does bring about a hopeful future, whether individually in our own lives or as a community or as a nation. And the more people we can get on board, the more the community is going to change. And you know how some people complain about, oh, today's society, I hate it, or oh, our community, it's so angry and it's so full of vitriol and toxicity. Well, let's start with ourselves. Let's start with the people that surround us, our friends, our family, and let's just begin small changes. And that's how you start to change the environment around you. And to those who maybe I haven't convinced fully, or maybe you're thinking about it, or perhaps you're just straight up angry with me, like, who do you think you are to be telling me these things? Let me ask you a very quick and honest question before I go. What philosophy are you ascribing to? Where do you put your hope for the future? Is it airtight? Is it fail-safe? I'm going to close with a very encouraging verse from Proverbs that I love to think about, and I hope it makes you think too. It comes from Proverbs chapter 14, verse 34. "Righteousness exalts a nation, but sin is a reproach to any people." Righteousness reigns supreme, and if we as individuals and ultimately as a community, as a nation, can get back to the righteous ways, and specifically the righteous ways of Christ's philosophy, what can we accomplish? What will we be able to do? Think of that hopeful future. Why am I sharing this? I'm so excited because I love you guys, all of you guys. I love my generation. I love this country that we all live in. I don't want us to be hopeless. I want us to be hopeful. And this is the best way I know of how to attain that hopeful future that we all talk about and long for. God promises it to us. We just need to ascribe to His Word, to the Bible, to the way of Christ. Thank you guys so much for watching this week. I hope that somehow this video has edified you in some way and that it will bring hope into your life for the future of our awesome nation and for your own lives. Remember to follow me on Facebook and Instagram at American Pool Guy. Hit that like button, subscribe, tell your friends and family, or you can hit the dislike button, disagree with me in the comments. Why? Because that's your freedom of speech and I will never try to take that away from you. Alright guys, this has been the American Pool Guy and I will talk to you guys